Before me, I think the most sold record was like Run DMC or some, which was huge for hip hop to go gold because that's 500,000 units. But when you're selling 1 million records a day, like my record was.
Vanilla Ice rocketed to superstardom in the early 1990s, and for a split second there, well, it really seemed like he might become one of the biggest artists on the planet. Now, after all, his breakthrough hit, Ice Ice Baby, well, it would be the first hip-hop song to ever reach the top of the Billboard charts. The only problem was, almost as quickly as people were willing to embrace this energetic track, well, they turned their backs on it as well. And while Ice could have gotten sour over how things turned out and shunned this side of his life forever, well, instead he was able to parlay all that fame and money into kickstarting a different business venture that very well might have kept him as flush with cash as if he were still a pop sensation. Now, if you ever wondered what rappers like Tupac and Nipsey Hussle thought of Vanilla Ice, you're gonna find out in this video. Also, that story of Suge Knight holding him by the ankles over a building. We're gonna get into all that and more on our latest episode of Where Are They Now? Vanilla Ice was born Robert Matthew Van Winkle on Halloween night in 1966 in an inner city suburb of Dallas. Now, his father, he was never in the picture, and in terms of that unfortunate last name, well, it was actually given to him by the man his mother was married to at the time of his birth. So it's technically not even his last name, but he ran with it. Yikes.
What's your real name?
Robert Van Winkle.
Why did you change?
Nothing rhymes with Winkle.
By the time Ice was 4, his stepfather was out of the picture. And over the next 12 years, his family, they would move back and forth between a series of diverse neighborhoods. We're talking in Dallas and then Dade County, where Ice's new stepfather worked at a Chevrolet dealership. In the winter of 1987, well, Vanilla Ice, he was discovered in a South Dallas club known as City Lights. Now, on that night in 1987, DJ Floyd Earthquake Brown, well, he was working the booth when he spotted something he had never seen before. A white kid breakdancing like he was a superstar. At that early stage in his life, well, Ice had formed a dance crew and he was going by the nickname of Vanilla. Now, alongside his friends, he'd be paid $40 a night to breakdance, to beatbox, and to freestyle over beats at local malls. Now, Vanilla had already built something of a reputation for himself around the city of Dallas. He had won a regional motocross contest and he rap battled at a ton of parties. Now, that's on the good side of things. On the bad side, well, he actually survived a vicious attack where he was stabbed 5 times and lost 4 pints of blood. Now, this resulted in him having to spend several days in the hospital.
I got stabbed 5 times at once. I got my main artery right here in the right leg, in the back of my leg, in my right buttocks, in my back. Sliced my hand right there.
Now, this is crazy stuff, but we're just talking about the lead up which led to the creation of one of the most infamous songs of all time. Now, this is all crazy stuff, but we're just talking about the lead up. Now we're going to talk about the creation of one of the most infamous songs of all time. Now, if you recall the City Lights DJ I mentioned earlier, his name's Earthquake, well, he fits predominantly into the story of Ice Ice Baby. Now, while working at a club with the owner, who was a Chinese businessman named Tommy Kwan, well, he decided that he was going to become a talent manager as well. Now, impressed by what he had seen of Vanilla's dancing ability, well, Kwan asked Earthquake to create a song for Vanilla. Now, at first, Earthquake, he had no intentions of making a rap song for some white kid from the burbs, but at the time, well, he was pretty much homeless and couch surfing. Now, knowing he needed to do something about his situation, well, Earthquake turned to the newest musical trend, which was sampling. And he found the most obvious riff he could think of for a white boy: Wild Cherries, Play That Funky Music. You know the song. Play that funky music, white boy. The only problem, well, the track had already been sampled a year earlier and to little success. So Earthquake, he kept digging, and that's when he unearthed Queen's Under Pressure. Earthquake would spend the next few weeks constructing the loop from that track. And according to the man himself, well, when he played the tune for Vanilla for the first time, well, young Robert went crazy. But when Earthquake told Vanilla he needed to finish the track, well, Vanilla apparently balked. Now, ticked off, Earthquake went to Kwan and told him to delete the track. And, well, a few months later, Earthquake was driving his car when he heard a song on the radio known as Ice Ice Baby. Now, as you might imagine, well, Vanilla's recollection of the creation of the song, well, it's pretty different. Now, he claims that he initially wrote the lyrics back in 1988 while he was broke and living with his mother. Now, inspired by a weekend trip to Miami, well, Vanilla says he wrote the song in a half an hour, which was in the middle of the night. And he admits that Earthquake had sent him a bunch of instrumentals, but he never actually told the DJ that he would use any of them. Regardless of which story is true, the end result is that Ice Ice Baby, it was born. After several months of persistence, Quan and Vanilla, they finally secured a release date for his debut album titled Hooked, and they released that via Atlanta's Ichiban Records. But upon its release, Hooked, it bombed. Now for 4 months, the first single, Play That Funky Music, it went nowhere, and with no social media to help a track go viral, well, these were different times, and if the radio ignored your song, well, you were pretty much left without options. Now, it was ultimately pure chance that turned Vanilla Ice into the household name that we're still talking about today. Now, one day, a DJ named Darrell J of Columbus, Georgia, well, he discovered Ice Ice Baby in his collection and he decided to throw it on. Now, much to his surprise, he was soon flooded with requests to keep that track playing. And within the next 2 months, Ice, he would sell something like 48,000 copies of his album, turning him into an underground success. But the craze didn't really begin until Quan, he shelled out another $8,000 for the now iconic music video. Label offers poured in soon afterwards from the likes of Atlantic Records and Def Jam. Now Vanilla, he was moments away from signing with Def Jam when SBK Records came in with a $1.5 million payday. Now that he was backed by a label, Hooked, it was retitled to The Extreme and it was re-released. It would immediately go on to sell more than 15 million copies, faster than any album since Prince's Purple Rain, which was released 6 years earlier. And all of a sudden, Vanilla Ice, he was everywhere. I mean, there were Vanilla Ice dolls, there was a ghost-written autobiography, he was cross-promoting with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for their movie, and he had his very own Vanilla Ice the movie. The guy was everywhere. Now, at the age of only 23 years old, Vanilla was the biggest rapper in the entire world. I mean, the guy was even dating Madonna. But neither that nor his career as we knew it, well, it would last. To be completely honest with you guys, Vanilla Ice only had 1 week to really enjoy himself as the biggest rapper in the world. Now, at the end of that week, a front-page news story emerged on the Dallas Morning News, and this alleged that Ice's biography had been fabricated, that his Dallas origins were totally admitted, and, they concentrated on his ties to Miami. Now, worst of all, they uncovered that horrendous government name, Van Winkle. Looking back at it now, considering the type of scandals we often catch artists in today, well, all of this seems pretty laughable. But things, they got worse when Queen, David Bowie, and their publishers, well, they decided it was time to take their 85% royalties from Ice Ice Baby. In just over a week, Vanilla Ice went from being the next big thing to the laughing stock of show business. Enter Jim Carrey and his parody on In Living Color. Now, Carrey did such a remarkable job lampooning the world's famous track that from that point forward, well, no one could consider Ice Ice Baby and Vanilla Ice as anything more than a joke. Essentially, he was like the Island Boys of 30 years ago. And by the summer of 91, well, Vanilla Ice had been replaced by Marky Mark, who became rap's newest and most popular white boy. Realizing that his time had passed, well, Vanilla Ice took a few years off before he re-emerged with his second studio album, Mind Blown. Needless to say, well, the album, it didn't deliver on the promise of its title. Then came 98's Hard to Swallow, where Vanilla tried to reinvent himself as a hardcore gangsta-style rapper. Needless to say, well, people weren't thrilled with this. Then over the next 10 years, well, Vanilla, he would drop Bipolar, Platinum Underground, and WTF. And, none of these, they would even chart. Despite the fact that his rapping career was effectively over, well, it might surprise you to learn that some of the biggest names in rap music, they consider Vanilla to be one of the GOATs. For instance, in the midst of Vanilla's collapsing popularity in the early 90s, well, Tupac Shakur, he actually was a fan, and he told The Ringer, "We played some early shows together with Digital Underground, and let me tell you, Tupac was one of the biggest Vanilla Ice supporters you ever met. He gave me great advice, keep your head up, don't let no haters fucking keep you down, keep doing your thing, and don't focus on them people who ain't paying for your bills." Decades later, in 2018, well, Nipsey Hussle was asked about Ice Ice Baby, and he mirrored Tupac's thoughts.
I liked that song when I was little. I ain't gonna lie to you. I can't hate on Vanilla Ice, man. But how you gonna hate on Ice Ice Baby? That's a classic, man. We was doing the dance and all that, you know what I'm saying?
As for Suge Knight, well, there's that rumor that Suge and his entourage, they hung Van Winkle by his feet over the side of a skyscraper, demanding royalties from his hit song. And Vanilla Ice, he actually spoke about this with the ABC News.
One of my bodyguards up, they roughed everybody else and my whole entourage up. Suge took me out on the balcony, started talking to me personally. On the balcony? On the balcony, high above, like 15 floors. He had me look over the edge, show me how high I was up there.
You scared?
I needed to wear a diaper on that day. I was very scared.
So now that we've got his come-up story out of the way, what's Vanilla Ice doing with himself now? I mean, besides touring and continuing to cash in on his legendary single. He's been married twice and he's got at least 3 children. Now he seems to be doing great financially as he smartly invested his Ice baby money, whatever was left over, into flipping real estate. He then capitalized on this by creating the Vanilla Ice Project, which is a reality show that aired for 9 years on the DIY network. He also popped up from time to time on other films and television projects like The Surreal Life, there was That's My Boy, The Ridiculous Six, and Dancing with the Stars. Nowadays, he's the CEO of Vanilla Ice Real Estate and the creator of Vanilla Ice Lightning. That's a collection of chandeliers, a company he launched in 2013. I mean, someone's got to sell them. Might as well be him, right? Ice, crystals, makes sense.
And we came up with some really cool,
funky stuff.
funky, awesome lighting fixtures that just, yeah.
You just got right in there.
If you want to bring the bling, check out the Vanilla Ice lighting line.
Nowadays, Vanilla Ice, well, he keeps his fans updated on his every move via social media, and he even recently took jabs at the Island Boys with a caption to this video that read, "Yes, I'm cracking up. Who starts the car in the garage unless they're trying to kill themselves? LOL." To me, that's hilarious. For Vanilla Ice to call it the Island Boys, it just makes this whole video fit so perfectly together. I mean, everyone hazed him, and here, 30 years later, he can't help but haze them. That means they're really bad. Anyway, he's also recently collaborated with the likes of Kodak Black on a track titled All the Way. Now, Vanilla Ice has been on quite the roller coaster over the years, but as for what happens next, well, I guess that's a story for another time. After all, this is Where Are They Now? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I feel like way back in the day, 2016, I did like after they were famous on Vanilla Ice. And it's funny, you know, it's like half a decade has passed and people are still talking about him and he's still doing his thing. And he's done very, very well for himself. Obviously, Eminem would come out about a decade later and do things the right way. But hey, Eminem also learned from what not to do with Vanilla Ice. Probably why when 8 Mile came out, he was well into his career, not in the same first couple of weeks. Anyways, guys, that's my take on it all. Can't believe he dated Madonna. Like, he made it to the very tippy top and then fell just as hard. It's a wild ride. Interesting story. Lots of people can learn from that. And I think at the end of the day, everyone thinks he's a great guy, cool guy, smart guy, you know? Anyways, I'll see you guys in another video. He just didn't become Elvis. I think that's what all the money men were trying to do with him. Anyway, see you guys in another video.